Hello everybody, welcome to today's video. It's Ryan, also known as Max Afterburner, also known as the fighter pilot next door. I'm a former F-15E combat fighter pilot, F-16 Thunderbird pilot, and I love breaking down geopolitics, military tech, current events, all the things going on around the world that involve military and these skirmishes that we're seeing. Today we're going to be talking about the skirmish between Pakistan and India. This is an air battle of epic proportions, massive, over 125 aircraft. If you look at the headlines, all the major news outlets are saying a dogfight, the largest dogfight in history. That's just not true, because it turns out that the jets didn't cross the political borders. They didn't cross the borders between their two nations, and that's called the line of control. It's kind of a disputed territory. They basically lobbed missiles at each other from either side of that line of control. Pakistan is claiming they shot down 3 Rafales, which are kind of the bread and butter of India's Air Force. They're also saying they shot down a Su-30, and they're also saying they terminated a MiG-29. And now India launched weapons into Pakistan to target a terrorist training camp and headquarters that they believed that were responsible for the terrorist attacks in India in April of 2025. They're saying they hit their target, they succeeded. They likely attacked these terrorist camps with precision-guided munitions in the form of cruise missiles, massive cruise missiles on their Su-30s, on their MiG-29s, and on their Rafales. But Pakistan's air chief is going to assert that they shot down 5 of these Indian jets, and they have recordings. They have a recording that they say is from the flight lead from one of the Rafale formations, saying they just saw an explosion in the air. And just for the sake of time, I'll walk you through kind of what was said during that engagement. So the flight lead in that engagement is going to try to get a hold of their number 4. I believe it's their number 4. He's going to say, "Number 4, where are you?" And I said this all the time as a flight lead because number 4 usually like to do their own thing and just fly upside down a lot. But in this case, they didn't get a response. And I make light of this, but this isn't really a joking matter. I hope that all these pilots are okay. But the Indian Air Force has come out and said all their pilots have returned to base. So in this recording, the Pakistani air chief is going to play it, and there's going to be no response from number 4. And then the flight lead is going to say something along the lines of, "I see an explosion in the air," or "I see an explosion in the sky." So could that be a jet exploding? Yeah, I suppose it could be. But if India is saying that all their pilots returned home, then likely this was one of the missiles exploding or timing out. And that's exactly what happens. When these missiles run out of steam, typically they'll just explode, and they'll kind of just be the exploding cantaloupe and hope to hit something. So that definitely could have been the case of what happened. And then on a side note, guys, I'll be doing a full breakdown of Pakistan versus India if this were to escalate, which I really hope it doesn't. But this video specifically is meant to be the dogfight itself and this air skirmish that lasted, they say, over an hour, which is a massive air engagement. So definitely check out that video when that comes out, and I'll link to that in the description of this video as well. Now let's step into the actual battle itself. The skies over Kashmir became a battleground as India and Pakistan engaged in one of the largest air battles since World War II. Over 125 fighter jets clashed in a high-stakes aerial battle, showcasing advanced technology and escalating tensions in a decades-long conflict. Today, we're going to dive into the reasons behind that skirmish, the cutting-edge hardware used, and what it means for the region. Welcome to this breakdown of India versus Pakistan air battle. Spark for this conflict was the tragic Pahalgam attack on April 22nd, 2025 in Indian-administered Kashmir. And then on May 7th, 2025, India launched Operation Sindoor, which targeted alleged terrorist camps in Pakistan-administered Kashmir and Punjab province. Pakistan retaliated, claiming India struck civilian areas, including mosques, killing 31 people. This tit-for-tat led to intense border skirmishes and the massive air engagement on May 6th through 7th. Confined to each nation's airspace, they did this to avoid humiliation of a captured pilot, as they saw in 2019 when India actually lost a jet in Pakistan. The hardware of the Indian and Pakistan military and their air force in particular is pretty impressive. Let's get into those jets now. So India is going to deploy its frontline fighters for Operation Sindoor. This is a big deal, and they're making a statement that they want these terrorist camps taken out. So leading the charge likely were the Rafale jets. These can be loaded down with cruise missiles, following closely behind Su-30 MKIs, and then close to that MiG-29s. MiG-29s, in my opinion, are going to be the least capable of these jets. They're just the most legacy and likely have the least updates out of the 3. And it's just my guess that India is going to use the R-77 missile, and that probably has a range of somewhere around 70 nautical miles. The real ranges are classified, but these were launched from inside of India towards Pakistani jets. But my guess is the main focus of this entire mission, of this entire strike package, was launching these cruise missiles towards this terrorist camp. So if in fact the Indian jets got shot down by Pakistan, I would say that that would be a failure in some sort of an offensive counter-air or defensive counter-air, however you want to look at it, but some sort of jets that were up high to protect and possibly shoot down Pakistan's jets that they knew were going to fire on the Indian jets. And then Pakistan's going to answer with J-10Cs, JF-17s, and PL-15 missiles. The PL-15 is a Chinese missile. It's said that these can have a range of up to 100 nautical miles, but likely when China exports missiles to another country, they're going to reduce the range just in case worse comes to worst, and you got to shoot down the people that you sold your jets and your missiles to. This would make you want to sell them a reduced range product, and that is likely what Pakistan has, unless they've updated these themselves. And then Pakistan also has the F-16, so there's a chance they use the F-16 in these engagements with the AIM-120 Charlie, which is going to have a range of somewhere over 30 nautical miles. Obviously, the real range is classified. But at the end of the day, this was a very significant air battle, and this would be along the lines of something like Red Flag that takes place in the United States, where all the blue U.S. forces go up against red, which are called aggressors. It's a massive air battle of sometimes up to 100 aircraft. So if this was in fact 125 aircraft, this is going to be a massive operation. And one of the biggest things that it comes down to is deconfliction. So you're going to have deconfliction on both sides. And in this case, if you're not crossing that central boundary, that line of control, you have to have deconfliction contracts with your own formations. But at the end of the day, you also want to maintain radio silence. So having a really good brief prior to this and knowing exactly the blocks that you're going to fly in. So an example would be, hey, Rafales, you guys are all going to be in block 25 to 30. Hey, Su-30 MKIs, you're going to be in block 31 through 36. And then MiG-29s, you might be lower. You're going to be block 20 to 25. And you're going to put these different jets in the certain positions where they can launch these cruise missiles most effectively. You want to have them inside their launch envelopes, with ideally staying as far away from that border as possible, because that border is where you know there's going to be air-to-air missiles coming at you from. So having those deconfliction contracts established beforehand is going to be huge for these fighter pilots. If in fact 5 of these jets were shot down by Pakistan, all of them are going to land in India. So ideally they get shot down. If that was the case, they're all safe, they parachuted in, and that was what was claimed by the Indian Air Force, that these pilots all parachuted in. That's something I love to see. Unfortunately, when skirmishes elevate to this level, people throw AMRAAMs and large objects at each other. It's just what happens, unfortunately, at the end of the day. But if we can avoid losing life, that's ideal. So if these would have gotten into a dogfight, then likely more lives would have been lost. Imagine a massive dogfight of 125 aircraft at night. I mean, night is just wild to think about. Trying to dogfight under night vision goggles would just be an act of God. It would essentially be like a miracle. Moses parts the sea below, and then the jets are able to dogfight during the nighttime, because dogfighting with NVGs is just an insane challenge. We would do some small dogfight training, but ultimately you would just get about 180 degrees of turn and then you would knock it off, because it was just so dangerous and there was just such a chance of having a midair collision. So a lot of jets, if they would have gotten into a dogfight scenario, potential midair collisions, potential G-locks, potential of NVGs falling off and hitting you in the face, not good things happening. And that's just thinking of it from a dogfight perspective. So ideally, nobody had their lives lost during this engagement. I would expect, though, there could be more of these skirmishes happening down the line. So I'll keep you updated as that happens. And then remember, guys, I'm going to do a full video of Pakistan versus India here in the next few days. That'll be force on force, what their militaries look like, what that battle would entail. So stay tuned for that, and I'll keep you posted as things develop in this scenario. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you on the next video. The best compliment you give me is subscribe to the channel and watch another video. See you in the next video. Have a great day.